Well, Zillow has just flagged 10 cities where sellers are getting crushed in the housing market. But it goes a lot deeper than that because price cuts are definitely spreading. Homes are sitting on the market longer. And there are many more cities, other than just 10, where home buyers are calling all the shots. And so today on the Housing Nerd, on this live video, we're going to dive into the Zillow heat map and take a look at where buyers have power, where sellers still have power. And we're even going to take a look at some price trends, maybe even some inventory. But yeah, this is a deep dive into really what Zillow's saying as far as where buyers and sellers control the housing market and where they don't. So good morning. Thanks for joining me. What's up, John? How you doing? From the Great Lake State. Right on. Midwest. Gotta love it. Thank you for joining us. Yeah. So let's get into this article right now. By the way, my name is Jason Ferrier. I am the Housing Nerd. I've been a realtor and investor here in Central Ohio for the last going on 8 years. And I'm bringing you the no BS information to this goofy housing market. All right. So this article is from Resi Club Analytics. No surprise, right? I use Resi Club all the time. This is actually a free article, and the link's in my description below, but it's called Buyers or Sellers Housing Market, Zillow's new rating for 250 major markets. And basically, I'll take you through this article. It gives you an idea of really what's happening depending on where you live, because the market is different. It just is, depending on the region and certainly the metro. And if you have a metro you want to look at on this video, let me know in the comments and I'll jump on it. This live today will be about an hour approximately, but I have to finish up by noon Eastern. Zillow economists use an economic model known as the Zillow Market Heat Index to gauge the competitiveness of housing markets across the country. This model looks at key indicators, including home price changes, inventory levels, and days on market to generate a score showing whether a market favors sellers or buyers. A higher score points to a hotter, seller-friendly housing market. A lower score signals a cooler market where buyers hold more negotiating power. According to Zillow, a score of 70 or above is a strong seller's market, 55 to 69 is a seller's market, 44 to 55 is a neutral or balanced market, 28 to 44 is a buyer's market, and 27 or below is a strong buyer's market. So overall, what does Zillow think, the nation is in when it comes to a seller or buyer's market? Well, right now you can see that they're saying we are basically just barely under a seller's market in the neutral market now. And you can see where it's kind of gone, this trend, right? I mean, over the past, year or so? Oh no, this goes back to 2018. Look at that. Like, it started at 50, like a neutral market. I don't know if that's any coincidence or not, but it started right at 50 and then floated up and down in that neutral range and then went up big time. Like, look back in 2021, 2022, we were like definitely in a strong seller's market, approaching 90 on their score. That's really what that means. And then we fell, right? Fell big time in 2022 when many metros experienced home price decline. And but then we went back up and sideways. I'd still call it sideways, but anyway, neutral market, I suppose, is what they're saying. But comment, let me know what you think. Do you think we're in a neutral market right now? Or are we in a national seller's market or buyer's market? And what do you think your market's in? Nationally, Zillow rates the U.S. housing market at a 55 in its May 2025 reading published this month. Makes sense. That said, Zillow's reading varies significantly across the country. All right, now we look at the good stuff. Before we do, though, let's jump down here real quick. These are the top 10 markets where Zillow says sellers have the most power. And these shouldn't surprise you. If you've been following my channel or just following real estate, you'll know that the Northeast, the Midwest generally are the best or the hardest markets to have a price decline. They're just like sticky, mainly because there's either inventory is bad or affordability is still relatively good. But Rochester, New York is a 145 right now. So the US is a 55. Rochester's a 145. There are a lot of cities that never even got to 145 during the crazy housing times, right? Like in 2022, 21, 23. Buffalo, New York is a 110. Syracuse, New York, a 100. Charleston, West Virginia, of all places, a 99. What's going on in Charleston? Albany, New York, a 97. Hartford, Connecticut, an 89. Lansing, Michigan, an 85. Anchorage, Alaska, an 83. Springfield, Massachusetts, an 82. And Manchester, New Hampshire, an 81. So all these markets are virtually strong sellers markets. All of them. Where are they the worst? Where are the coldest markets, I guess? Where are the buyers? Where do they have the most power in the market? The top 10. Macon, Georgia, Jacksonville, Tennessee. So for flavor, Macon, Georgia at a 23 is a strong buyer's market, I believe, right? Under 25, right? 27. Under 27 is a strong buyer's market. So shoot, I mean, you've got Macon, Georgia, Jackson, Tennessee, Brownsville, Texas, Gulfport, Mississippi, Naples, Florida, Longview, Texas. All of those are at or I guess below a strong buyer's market, or they are strong buyer's markets, not strong sellers markets. Completely different story, depending on if you're in the Northeast or the South. Daphne, Alabama, Punta Gorda, Florida, Beaumont, Texas, and Cape Coral, Florida are all buyer's markets, approaching strong buyer's markets. So this is something you should probably look at. Like, look at the Zillow heat map back in 2021. Check this out. Look at this. Red means hot. Blue means cold, obviously, right? The entire country is basically hot. In 2021, Zillow was like, everywhere is hot. There's no escape. Everywhere is hot. Now look at the map, though. Let me show you the map now. Look at this. Big, huge difference, right? I mean, massive difference in how those two maps looked. Like, I had to go back and look at it again, but I mean, look at this. Everything's red now. You look now. There are some reds, but there's a lot of, I guess, oranges, I suppose, and some blues. And that tells me, and it should tell you, that there are areas of the US where the market's cooling. So let's find out where they are. Let's really dive into this. And I think some of these numbers have been revised from earlier because I remember Columbus being a lot hotter than what they're saying now back in 2021, but it's fine. So Columbus, let's start there. Look at this. May of, let me just zoom in a second. There we go. Oh, that's why, because it's by month. My fault. All right. May of 2018, 62. So back before the pandemic, Columbus, Ohio was a 62 on the hotness scale. And that's a let me just double check my scale here. I don't have it on the same page. That's a seller's market. That's what that's considered. If I look at this if this chart right here, this is telling me it's a seller's market. So 62 back in 2018, for example. Then you look at 2019, 20, it keeps going up. 21 is its peak in May of 2021. Columbus hit a 90, which is a strong seller's market by far. And then it dropped. And now 62 again in May of 2025, which is a seller's market. And I would agree with them. I think that's what we have here in Columbus. Homes are still moving quickly, and sellers still have the upper hand in most cases. In fact, Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Dayton, Toledo, Akron, the list goes on, all just hit record high, all-time record high home prices in Ohio. Like, no sign of slowing down. Anyway, I do have an Ohio channel only, the Ohio Housing Nerd. I cover Ohio much more on that channel. Check that one out. But yeah, that's Columbus. Cleveland, we're at a 72 right now. So more of a seller's market than Columbus, they're saying. And tell me if you agree with these, like as I go through these on the map. And if you have a metro you want me to look at, put it in the comments and I'll dive into it. Cincinnati, 61. So seller's market, right? Yeah, 55 to 69 is a seller's market. So that's Ohio. But look, there's a couple areas of Ohio where they're not sellers markets, like Mansfield, Ohio. Probably never heard of that. But 49, which is a neutral market, they're saying. That's what Zillow's saying, neutral market. So, but let's zoom out a second and look at some like other big metros because Mansfield's really big, you know. All right, let's look at Chicago. A 69, still a seller's market, approaching a strong seller's market. Pretty shocking. Like Chicago is unrelenting. Let me do this though. I have this as well. So this is, all right. I don't want to get these tabs confused because they kind of look the same sometimes, but I'll do my best. All right. So this is the inventory. So as we look at these markets, we can look at the inventory and say, hey, what's going on with it? So Chicago, for example, look at the inventory, 12,000 units right now, 12,400 houses for sale in Chicago as of January 2025. That's just January 2025. Why didn't Resi Club update this? This hasn't been updated. I wonder if that's there must be a typo, the January to instead of May. But we're gonna go with it. So back in 2017, there were 29,000 homes for sale. Right now in Chicago, there's 12,400 homes for sale. So what does that tell me? Well, that tells me that there's a lot fewer, there are fewer homes for sale. And because of that, obviously, when you look at the heat index of Chicago, you can see it's still a seller's market, if almost a strong seller's market. There's just less inventory. So let's compare that with somewhere like down here in Tampa. So look at Tampa. It's a 43 now. And a 43 is a buyer's market, securely in the buyer's market area. But let's look at inventory and see what happened in inventory. There's inventory for Tampa. Year over year, up 27%. Look at 2025 inventory, 15,932 in Tampa. Look at the inventory back in 2017, 14,337. In fact, right now, it's a all-time high with the number of homes for sale in Tampa. All-time high. No, sorry, not all-time high. 9-year high. My bad. It's Monday. Bear with me. 9-year high. So what that means is Tampa has a lot more homes for sale than they did over the last 9 years. Because of that, obviously, when you look at the heat index on Tampa, 43. So it's a buyer's market. Why? A lot more inventory. Chicago, on the other hand, less inventory. That's just how it is. So it kind of gives you a kind of an idea of why some of these markets are like this. Let me look at some other popular ones people always like to look at. Let's look at Vegas. So look at Vegas, a 52 on a scale of basically 0 to 100. And that means it's a neutral market. So 52 is a neutral market. Let's look at the inventory. $7,177 in 2025. Back in 2017, 7,534. So not quite as many as 2017, but it's approaching that number. It's definitely approaching that number. So it's not as lopsided with inventory as Tampa is. That's probably why it's a neutral market, right? That's what Zillow is saying. Kind of a different way to look at things versus just like a chart, right? Look where it peaked. It's kind of interesting. Look at Vegas peaked at 83 back in 2021. Columbus peaked at a 90 in May of 2021. Oops. Sorry about that. Los Angeles, what's that doing? It peaked at a 96. Back in 2018, it was a 67. Now it's a 63, kind of back to right below 2018, I guess, seller control, right? It's still a seller's market, according to Zillow. And let's look at the inventory change. Inventory change, Los Angeles, year over year, up 32% in inventory. And back in 2017, they had 14,939. Now they've got 12,175. I mean, look at these inventory swings in LA. Like, at one point, they had 18,976 before the pandemic, and then it started to drop big time. It got to 6,000, then went up, then went down, then went up. And so now 12,000 homes for sale, again, tells me that they're basically saying it's a seller's market, right? At 63, but it's not like a strong seller's market anymore because more inventory. 96, the 96 rating was when they had virtually no inventory. I mean, look at this. Oops. Wrong one. Look at this. Back in 2021, there were 10,000 homes for sale, but then in 22 there were 6,000. So I'm guessing as those homes were kind of gobbled up, that's why that rating, the heat rating, was so high, and it favored sellers so much. Right? That's just how it is. Less inventory, sellers are in control. More inventory, buyers are in control. And you can use that metric, like you can look at your specific market down to a subdivision level and track how many listings are there in your price point. And when you do that, you can kind of get a sense of, oh, is inventory going up or is it going down? If it's going up, could mean that there's some deals happening or a chance to get a deal. Depends on what market, right? But that's a great indicator. Let me just take a couple comments here. Yeah, good morning, everybody. Good morning from the western suburbs of the great Atlanta. ATL, Sonia D, thanks for checking in. Paulding County, Georgia. I'm not doing counties today. I'm doing metro. So I'll look at Georgia. I'll look at Atlanta. How about that? That's all I can do on this. Well, that's not true. I can look at some other areas of Georgia. Sorry. There's a massive bird on my on my gutter. It scared me. All right, Atlanta, Georgia. Look at this. 44. May of 2025, 44, which is what is that? That's a buyer's market. Barely in a buyer's market, they're saying, in Atlanta. But is that the city I should look at, Sonia? Or should I look at another one in Georgia? I can't look at a county today. You have to let me know. You said great suburbs of Atlanta, so maybe I am on the right track. Let me look at the inventory there. All right, let me go back. Let's see. Atlanta inventory, 21,294. I mean, you have more than you had in 2021. A lot more, right? Double what you had in 2021. Look at this. In 2022, you only had 8,600 homes for sale. Now you've got 21,000 homes for sale. Again, I think this putting January in here was a typo from Resi Club because this is their latest update, as far as I know. But I mean, that's like, you're approaching like 3 times what you had back in 2022. So that's why the power is shifting more to buyers. That's just how it is. Now, I'm not saying they're the right homes on the market. Like year over year change is 38% in inventory. So a lot more inventory than you've had. But I'm not saying they're the right homes. Maybe they're really expensive homes. I don't know. Like here in Columbus, this is crazy. And the only way to find this out is with MLS or realtor data. Zillow, Redfin, they don't have this type of data. But in Columbus, 3 out of 4 homes are priced over $300,000 that are on the market active. meaning there's only 1 out of 4 or 25% of the listings are under 300 grand. Well, the median's like 330 to 350. So like if you're looking for an affordable home, most of the homes are priced, way over the median here in Columbus. So that's what I would pay attention to, more so than just the inventory level. But this gives us like a 50,000 foot view. Hope that made sense. All right. Thanks for asking about that though. Okay, so I offered a home in Palm Springs, 300K, because we both know compared to others being sold in the area, it's a fair price. They still said they would only go down to 330. Wish me luck. I wish you luck, illuminated wisdom. And good for you making a lower offer. I don't know. Palm Springs seems expensive. So, I know it's expensive. So, a $300,000 home, I don't know. Can't even hardly buy a house in Columbus for that. But that's awesome. Yeah, good for you. How long was on the market? Let us know some more details. And if you get it, let us know what happened. Even if you didn't get it, let us know. I'm happy to bring your comment up again. They listed at 375. Someone pulled out and it went down to 350 with no upgrades. Well done. Great way to sense a deal, maybe. Like, hey, the house was on the market, then it came off the market. A lot of buyers are like put off by that. Like, I wonder what's wrong with that house. It's like, well, maybe nothing's wrong. Maybe it's just overpriced, or maybe the buyer couldn't perform. So good job. Good morning. Let's go. Fresno, California. I went viewing for homes yesterday at open houses, and it's crazy how many more homes are for sale. Oh, good. Oh, and a realtor told me, oh, rates just dropped, so that's good timing. Right. Right. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to make the comment about the realtor. It is what it is. Let's look at Fresno though for you. Fresno, right around here, right? Nope. Fresno, here we go. Fresno, CA, 2018, 61 on the hotness scale, right? May 2025, a 60. So basically back to 2018, they peaked at an 88 in Fresno. So it's definitely cooler. There's no doubt it's cooler in the market. Not temperature wise. I'm sure right now it's blazing, insane hot there. Let me look at inventory. Fresno, what do we got? 1,500 homes for sale. Back in January 2021, you had 694 homes for sale. In 2022, you had 677. So you definitely have more homes on the market. I'm glad you're seeing that. Good for you. Good for you. Yeah, maybe ask your realtor that if you're shopping for a home, it doesn't sound like you're like, well, it sounds like you're kind of taking your time, which is good. Maybe ask them for some data like, hey, tell me whatever price point you're looking in. Tell me how many homes are active right now and tell me what that inventory has looked like for the past 10 years. On the MLS, you can go back, like in Columbus, you can go back like 20 years or more. So go back a long time, as far as you can go back. You go back to the GFC and look at it. And then that'll kind of give you a gauge of like, hey, here's how many homes we have in my price range in the area I want to buy in right now. Here's how many we had in 2023, 2020, so forth, all the way down to 2000. And you'll get to see a trend and you'll know really what's going on, right? You could also ask him for like days on market, median days on market during that period of time. And they should be able to provide that pretty easily. But that you may want to ask him for that. If I was working with a realtor now and I didn't have access to the MLS, that's what I would ask for. But good. I'm glad you're out there taking your time and at least understanding that, it's not always a great time to buy every house, right? Lansing's number 7. Yeah, on this that's what you're talking about. This I think you're talking about this list right here, right? John Doe. I think you're talking about this, where Lansing, Michigan is 85 on the hotness scale. Yeah, most of this is in the Northeast, right? Most of it is. I guess Alaska is not, obviously, But then you've got kind of a couple outliers, West Virginia and Lansing being ranked in the top 10 as far as hotness goes. It's interesting that like Rochester, Buffalo, Syracuse, all in New York are like the top ones 145, but you don't see any at like 120 and then like 105 that are making this list. So there's like a few that are really hot, and then the rest are definitely cooling. But yeah, the Midwest is hot. Michigan can be expensive. I know people on here from Grand Rapids always ask me about the market, and I'm always shocked how expensive it is there. All right, let me go to hotness score. Lansing. Where's Lansing? I should know where it is, but I don't. There you go. Lansing, Michigan. 85. I mean, compared to May of 2018, look at that. Wow. Lansing's like, nah, I'm just gonna stay hot. Like it jumped from 58 to 85, and then to 93, then to 90, 90, and then to 86, now to 85. So it's come down a little bit, but it's still a strong seller's market. What's up with the inventory there? Let's look. There you go. Lansing, East Lansing, year over year up 27% in inventory, 673 homes for sale. See, it's just barely over by like a handful of homes over 2021. And then if you go back to 2017, it's not even a comparison. Look at that. 2017, we had 1,458 homes. Now 673. So there's just not enough homes for sale. I know that people get sick of the supply and demand narrative. I get that. They're like, oh man, it's so boring. Like, I want something else to cause problems. But it really comes down to supply. Like, however that person has to put their house up for sale, what it doesn't matter. Job loss, New World Order, I don't know, shadow Fed president, the fraud, the greed, the corruption, whatever the reason is to put that house on the market, all that matters is that house hitting the market. And a lot of them. And then you'll see a big difference in prices. And that's where we're seeing the softness. That's where we are. All right, let me go back to this. And let me see. Yeah, Lansing, crazy, right? Bethesda, Maryland. Bethesda, Maryland. I've been there many times. Many times. You think I'd know where it was though, right? I don't know. It's like right here near Washington, D.C. I've got Baltimore, Dover, Salisbury, Maryland, Washington, D.C., Baltimore. I don't know if they've got Bethesda on here, but that's basically Baltimore, Washington, D.C., right? Well, let me do Baltimore now. 65 right now on a hotness scale. Higher than 2018, but not as high as it was in 2021 and 81. So they're saying, I believe that's still a, if I'm not mistaken, that's still a seller's market. Yeah, a seller's market. Yeah. That's what they're saying. Not like that in every neighborhood. Let's do the inventory. Baltimore, Columbia, Townsend. Looks like you've got 4,200 homes for sale right now. Back in 2017, had 9,500 homes for sale. So, you know, more homes than you had in 2022, where you had 2,800 homes. But it's not like you're really not close to back to 2018, 2019 levels yet. That's probably why it still feels like a seller's market there. Let's look at, by the way, let's look at Washington, D.C., since we're here. Washington, D.C., look at this. Still says it's a seller's market at 65. I mean, it's coming down. I guess it peaked at 82 twice. Peaked in 2020 and 2023 at 82. And Washington, D.C., that area, Arlington, Alexandria, kind of the whole pocket, 7,800 homes for sale. You're back above 2022 and approaching 2020, but not there yet with inventory. So That's why. But year over year, up 35.9%. I'm going to, real quick, bear with me. I'm going to go in and just double check that I didn't pull the wrong map because it says it's bothering me that it says January, even though I'm pretty sure I pulled the right article from Resi Club. Hmm. No, I didn't. It's my fault, guys. I did not. So let me go back here. I'm sorry. I must have pulled the wrong tab at the very beginning. My fault. Yeah, this map looks different. So let me go back to Baltimore. Yeah. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so Baltimore, 5,700 homes in May for sale, and that's more going back to 2020. The hot scale was correct. I had the right article there, but I didn't have it on inventory. But that was only from January, so it's not going to probably make a huge ton of a difference. You do have more inventory than you've had in the last few years, which is good. Actually, you're up to 48%. Let me look at Washington D.C. 13,000 now. Well, because that makes a big difference. So you have to go all the way back to 2019. You have to go all the way back to 2019 before you see more homes for sale in Washington, D.C. That's probably why that hotness scale is dropping. Hmm. Okay. Let's see what other suggestions I have or people want to see. Bethesda, yeah. Florida crash, yeah. There's a lot of them in Florida. A lot of cities are struggling in Florida. It's priming for a big plunge. It's inevitable. Oh, Florida? I mean, some would say it's already coming down, right? But a lot of people like want this like event horizon, right? Like you wake up one day and like instead of 1,000 homes around you for sale, there's like 10,000. The housing market moves slow. Texas too. Yep. Can you look at Cape Coral? Sure. Let's look at Cape Coral on the hotness scale. Northport, Punta Gorda, Cape Coral, Florida, 31. A 31, which is what is that? That's a buyer's market. Not a strong buyer's market, mind you, but a buyer's market. Okay. Now let's look at the inventory in Cape Coral. All right, inventory in Cape Coral, 13,757. So this one, like, that's a 9-year high of inventory. A 9-year high in Cape Coral. That's why it's a buyer's market, approaching a strong buyer's market. Why? Just a lot more homes for sale. Just how it is. I mean, look at 2021. You had 1,600 homes for sale. Now, 13,000. That's a lot. Big difference there. Big difference. And that rise of inventory, like again, if you're waiting for like that event horizon, like that one day when you wake up and like the sun doesn't rise. I mean, it doesn't happen in one day, but like in Cape Coral, look at it. I mean, like in between 2023 and 2024, you gained 5,000 listings. You doubled the listings. Like it doubled this year from 2021 to 2022. Then it doubled from 22 to 23. Then it doubled to 24. And then it went up 3,000 more, 3,700 more units year over year. So a lot more homes in Cape Coral. Like if you're looking for I guess a Florida home, and you don't mind, dealing with the insurance or taxes, maybe now is the time to start running out and making disrespectful offers, right? I don't know. I don't know the Florida market that well, so maybe this is just the beginning. Who knows? All right, let's go back to the heat index and see. I mean, Cape Coral, by the way, peaked at a 72, which is not even a 72. Yeah, 72 is a strong seller's market. So it was a strong seller's market at one point, but then it died off quickly, right? And normal, go back to 2018, is a 37, which is that a balanced market? No. A 37 is a buyer's market too. So normally it's a buyer's market there. It just changed to insanity for a few years. Hmm. But thanks for suggesting that one. All right, I got time for a few more. You're waiting to buy in Cape Coral. Oh, cool. Well, I'm curious, how it goes. Stay in touch with us. Let us know. I'd love to hear your story about it. Link on the description doesn't work. Uh-oh. It doesn't? Sorry, guys. I will fix that. Um, I can't fix it this moment, but I will fix it. Thanks for letting me know, Buffalo. You'd be surprised how many people don't let me know if there's a problem. But it should take you to the Zillow heat map article. Thank you for letting me know, Buffalo. Paulding County, Georgia. Well, I did Atlanta. Did that help? Florida prices probably fall by another 40%. Maybe they will. I don't know. El Paso, West Texas. El Paso, West Texas. You got it. Let's look. I think they have El Paso on here. Lubbock, Odessa, Midland, Laredo. I don't know if I have it. Where is it near? I've got Odessa, Lubbock, Amarillo, Sherman. Oh, I see. It's in that west corner, right? Northwest corner. So like around here, I guess is the best I'm going to be able to do, right? Oh, is this it right here? Here it is. My fault. All right. 50, let's see. 53 right now. 53. So, you started at a 50 back in 2018. You got all the way up to an 86, which was a super strong seller's market. And then now you're down to a 53, which is neutral, I think. Yeah, neutral market. Means neither buyers or sellers have power, and it's kind of like happy median, I guess. I don't know if there is such a thing in the housing market, but tell us what's going on there. Are you seeing more homes for sale? Prices coming down? What's up? Let's look at inventory and see. Whoops. All right, look at inventory in El Paso. 2,800 units for sale, homes for sale. Back in 2017, you had 3,800. So not quite back to 2017. It's not a 9-year high. Yeah, not a 9-year high, but you definitely have more than you had pre-pandemic. Like a lot of people point to that number as like, hey, if you're above pre-pandemic levels of inventory, chances are your prices are starting to come down. Not always, but that's kind of like one of the rules that we're discovering out there. Look, one of the things that's interesting is I hear a lot of people say, hey, if we can just get back to pre-pandemic levels, like I just said, life would be good. But look how their inventory in El Paso was 3,800 in 2017. Look at 2018. That's a big drop. Like in 1 year, it dropped 600 units year over year, meaning I think in many areas of the US, inventory was falling, like Ohio here. Inventory was falling before the pandemic. Prices were going up before the pandemic. So if you just got back to that, It doesn't mean prices are coming down necessarily, right? Just all depends on what the mix is and what interest rates do and all that other jazz. I mean, I would say that you're probably seeing some balance of pricing start to come back to reality in El Paso, but it really depends on what that inventory mix looks like. But no doubt you're gaining ground on inventory. So that's good. That's good. What do I know about the New World Order, young man? Um, I just mentioned it because I hear a lot of people say that's going to destroy the housing market. Um, it's more of like tongue in cheek for me, honestly. Let's see. Mansfield, Ohio, checking in. What's up? By the way, Mansfield has the best ski resort in Ohio. I'm just kidding around. It's like the only place to snowboard or ski in the area, and they do their best there. But it's a unique spot. But I like Mansfield overall. From Mansfield, Ohio, ranches in my area are flying off the market. Still, however, in general, there are an increasing number of homes for sale. It's moving towards neutral, I believe. Yeah, I mean, according to the info on Resi Club here, like Mansfield is a, I believe it's a buyer's market now. Oh, oops, that's 49. It's a neutral market. So you're saying you're seeing more homes on the market. Good. Let's look at the inventory there and see what they have to say. The inventory, 154 units. Yeah, look back in 2021, you only had 78 units. So you're definitely gaining inventory, like you say, but you said ranches are still flying off the market. Yeah, a good ranch, at least in Ohio, a good ranch home, priced near the median price or below it in decent shape. So you don't have to do a ton of renovation before you move in just to live in it. Those are all doing well here. And I imagine they're doing well in a lot of other areas. Let's see. I did Atlanta. Here's Reno. The houses being listed in Reno the last 2 weeks have been so much more competitive on price. The stale inventory even started cutting price because there's now better stuff for less on the market. Yeah, the weird thing is if you're a seller and you price your home competitively out of the gate, like if there are 3 other homes on the street or in the subdivision that are priced, let's say at 200 grand, and you go in and price it at like 198 or 195. So somebody looks at it and goes, that house could be the one. You'll move it a lot quicker, sometimes at a higher end price than you would if you started at like 210. And then you're like, I can always come down. So the days of overpricing homes, for the most part, are over in most areas. That's what I'm seeing. I'm still seeing multiple offers and over asking deals, but it usually happens when homes are priced lower to begin with. It's kind of funny how that works. But let's look at Reno. But it's cool you're seeing that though. That means that that means there are definite changes in the market. Do I have Reno? Yeah, there's Reno. Great. Reno, Nevada, 53 on the hotness scale. Started at 66 in 2018. Now 2021 was an 80. Now 53, which is a neutral market. A neutral market. Let's look at inventory now. I like the old Resi Club map better. This one's a little more challenging. Just don't like the small dots. Reno, Nevada. Inventory shift 43% year over year, May to May. That's a big increase, right? May 2025, 1,600 units. Look at May of 2021, you had 1,498. Here's what's weird. You went all the way up to 1,000, and then you went down slightly, but then up another 100, now up 500. So you had a 500 unit spike year over year. And back in 2017, you had 1,400. So that's not a 9-year high, but it's close to a 9-year high of inventory. Yeah, if there are more houses on the market, more competition for sellers, they're going to have to price it right. Unless there's a compelling reason why their home is priced more. And every seller, generally speaking, thinks their home is worth more than their neighbor's house. That's just how people are with their property, which, they're proud of it, I suppose. But, a lot of things don't add value to homes. Um, but you just have to be priced competitively if you're trying to sell right now. All right. That was Reno. Thanks for asking about Reno. That's kind of neat. Let me just keep looking. Geeks of Rage. Huh. Cool name. Sandusky is completely overpriced and overrated, in my opinion. They're pushing these almost $1 million homes on the coastal areas downtown to inflate prices. Talking about Sandusky, Ohio? I don't know if I have that on here. I don't think I do. Is that what you're talking about? $1 million homes in Sandusky, huh? Comes with a free pass to Cedar Point in the city of Sandusky, not the county. Well, here's a good question. Thanks, James. How does the large amount of apartments being constructed affect home values? Well, it'll make rent more competitive if there was more supply, right? A lot of new apartment builders will look at the equivalent housing payment for the area for that type of amenity. So if there's a home that is, relatively new or newer, somewhat updated, is clean, ready to move into, a lot of developers will look at that price of that mortgage and then say, all right, well, if that mortgage is priced at $4,000 a month, then we should be able to build these units with these type of amenities and charge $3,000 a month and have people move in all day long. That's kind of how they price it when it comes to looking at homes versus new apartments. But the more new apartments that come in, obviously, the lower the rent. I guess if there were nicer apartments to move into than you could buy a house at, like in my example, then there may be people that say, you know what? Why buy that home for $5,000 a month or $4,000 a month or whatever when I can rent a place for $3,500 a month and have no maintenance and no headache and no worry about property taxes, for instance. I guess it depends the situation, but that could give sellers more competition. It could. It would probably depend on what type of homes are around it and what's the price point of the apartments. Like if the homes around it are relatively affordable and you're putting in high-end apartments, that it may not change the fact that people can buy a house maybe less for less money a month. That's not usually how it goes, though. People discover they can rent something for less, and that's maybe where it hurts home sellers. It'll definitely affect rent prices. Great question. Oh, well, you're in Central Ohio. Welcome, James. Awesome. Check out my other channel, the Ohio Housing Nerd. Let me keep looking here. You're talking about selling your home in Sandusky. I get it. Let me look at anybody else who has one. Oh, okay. Well, somebody wants to know about Cincinnati. So I'll go ahead and look at that one. Zillow heat map, Cincinnati. What do I got? A 61. 61, which is a seller's market. And I know that Cincinnati hit, now this is Cincinnati Metro, like it uses the surrounding area. And then the city of Cincinnati. I know they just hit a record high home price. It was like 309, I think, according to Redfin data. And that was last week. So prices there seem to want to keep going up. But tell me what you're seeing. But this says basically it is a seller's market. And then let me look at inventory. But inventory there is also up. There's no doubt. More and more homes for sale. Just don't know if they're the right homes. Cincinnati, up 27% year over year, call it 28%, 3,000 homes for sale right now. If you look back, it's more than any year going all the way back to 2020. So in 2020, you had 3,400 homes for sale at this time. In 2019, you had 5,100. In 2018, you had 5,200. And then in 2017, you had 6,100. This is what I mean. I said this earlier, but yeah, I'm seeing a trend where if you go back to 2016, 17, 18, 19, before the pandemic, you saw inventory start to decline. It was almost like we came out of the GFC when we had a lot of inventory, and then it started working its way through the system. And we were losing inventory in a lot of areas leading up to the pandemics, and prices were going up in many areas. And then the pandemic didn't help at all. And obviously, the inexpensive free money certainly didn't help. We all like the one thing people say, hey, I had somebody ask me yesterday, just like out and about on a Sunday, they asked me, what's that one indicator, Jason, that you would look at as we move forward, like from a macro basis on the housing market? And I said, I would look at that 10-year treasury and pay really close attention to what the administration is going to do with the Federal Reserve and 10-year treasury notes. Because while the Federal Reserve interest rate does not directly impact mortgage rates, the 10-year treasury does. And it looks like, by all accounts, everybody wants to lower the 10-year treasury. How are they going to do that? By buying 10-year treasury notes, right? Looks like they're going to deregulate banks to allow them to buy more 10-year treasuries and hold more as the collateral. I keep seeing videos about that and information. Looks like whoever Trump puts in as far as Fed president or Fed chair, they are going to be a very dovish person. Otherwise, Trump point blank said he wouldn't appoint them. So I would watch that 10-year treasury. If rates come down, it could spell problems for prices, right? Prices could go back up. I hope that doesn't happen. We shouldn't lower interest rates, even though I want to refinance some of my properties. I still know it's the wrong thing to do for the health of the economy. All right, that's Cincinnati. Hot, hot, hot. Western Arizona. Good morning. Hold tight, buyers, and be patient. Let the whole thing crash. Yeah, a lot of people think that. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. Let's look at Arizona. Where are you in Arizona again? Are you in Phoenix? Western Arizona. I don't have Western Arizona. All I have is, well, maybe I do. Lake Havasu, is that where you are? Or are you in Yuma? I'm assuming you're in Yuma. 47 on the hotness scale right now, which is a neutral market. And let's look at inventory. What was this, Utah? Yuma, Utah. I'm sorry. Yuma, Arizona inventory. 617. Not a 9-year high, but you're approaching. 2019, you had 628. 2018, you had 649. So definitely more inventory than you've had the last few years. I mean, at one point, you had 139. But again, just like, I mean, same thing, right? 2017, you had 692. 2018, you had 649. 2019, before the pandemic, you had 628. So that number was coming down before the pandemic. Then the bottom fell out. And then it fell out again, going to 139 units for sale. Now it's creeping back up. So you do have more homes for sale. How's Phoenix inventory? 20,000 units right now. Back in 2017, you had 17,000 units. You had a cycle low. Look at that, of 4,200 units. Goodness gracious. So you definitely have, I mean, it's a 9-year high with inventory there. 9-year high in Phoenix. But again, just like the Yuma, inventory was dropping. Well, it dropped in 17 to 18. Then it went up in 2019. And then look at that change. Went down 4,000 units there. And then look at 2020 to 2021. That was the death year for you as far as inventory. I mean, it went from 11,000 to 4,200. Wow. Wow. That's awesome. I mean, it's awesome that we took a look at it. So thank you. All right. Anything else? Well, we just looked at Phoenix. Oh, here's an Ohio person. I'm currently in Westerville. That's in Columbus, kind of. I'm in the process of wanting to build on acreage in Marengo. I know you're in Ohio. Now I'm debating on just selling the land instead with the market. Now I'm debating on just selling the land instead with the market. Boy, I don't know. I don't know the Marengo market that well. And then you're just going to stay in Westerville. Is that what you're saying? Instead of building, sorry. Oh, yeah, I understand. I mean, it really depends on what type of lifestyle you want, right? Or, there's a lot of questions there. If you want, my email is in the description. It should be anyway. Or you can just Google me and I'm out there too. Contact me, email me is usually the best way. You can always text me too, Dub, and I can give you some information on Westerville, like in more detail to help you make that decision and see if I can help at all, help you make that decision with some data that's more relevant on, from the Columbus end. Yeah, let me know if I can help. So just contact me directly. I'm happy to help. Okay. Well, that was awesome. I appreciate you guys suggesting those cities, and hopefully you can see what happens with inventory. More inventory, more homes for sale equals usually softer prices. So watch those inventory numbers. It's nothing fancy. It's nothing dramatic. All this info is free. You can get all this from Zillow. You can go get it from Redfin or get it from, really you can get it from many different sources out there. If you pay Resi Club, I think Resi Club is $300 a year for all their data, but they just use Zillow and Realtor.com data. So if you're paying for an app on data, like if you're paying for Reventure Consulting or you're paying for really anybody, a lot of that information can be had for a lot less and or free. You just got to kind of, do a little number crunching or use AI and it can help you too. But anyway, I hope this helped on the Housing Nerd today, this morning, taking a look at where sellers and buyers have some power. And I've got some other lives this week I think you guys are going to like on new listings. I've got one on property taxes again. Got some shocking information on property taxes coming up. So be on the lookout for those lives. Got some other videos I'm publishing this week. So yeah, busy week for the Housing Nerd. I hope you have a great day. I'm the Housing Nerd and I'm out for this video. OUT. See ya.